Hi, I'm Avery Frix, proudly representing District 13, McIntosh and Muskogee counties. Thank you for tuning in for our weekly Capitol update. I wanted to talk about an important piece of legislation that I authored this session that got passed out of committee. It was House Bill 2985. It's been a long-awaited cost of living adjustment for our retired state employees, retired teachers, retired firefighters, retired law enforcement, and all of our retirees would receive a 4% cost of living adjustment. Let me give you some background on this. Our retired employees have not received a COLA since 2008. It's been 10 years since our retirees have received that COLA. Our systems had, at one point, were in a crisis, and because of smart decisions made at the Capitol, those systems have now recovered substantially. Some systems are even over 100% funded. I felt like now was the time for us to do what's right and give that COLA because our systems are so well funded and our retirees have helped us get these systems funded and have waited for over 10 years. This was the first hurdle in the process. We're still working on the bill, but it did get passed out of committee. It will now be ready to be heard on the floor. We appreciate all of the retired employees' support of this, the Oklahoma Public Employees Association, OEA, and many others that helped support our retired educators and retired employees throughout our state. I also want to say that our heartfelt condolences go out to the Justin Durrett family in Shakota for their tragic loss. Justin served the Shakota community so well for over 10 years and was a really big part of our community there in Shakota. He will certainly be missed. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family as they go through this difficult time. As always, it's a privilege to serve you, and please do not hesitate to reach out to contact me in any way. My cell phone number is public. You can reach out to me through Facebook, or you can call our office or stop by here. I'm in office 328B. Feel free to stop by anytime. We're now going to leave you with some audio from the committee hearing for our House Bill 2985, the cost of living adjustment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 2985 provides for a 4% COLA for retired state employees, firefighters, police, and teachers. As you probably are aware, the last COLA that was granted was over 10 years ago. Our systems have recovered quite a bit, and I'm told that it would be approximately a 2% change in the funding ratio for our retirement systems to grant this 4% COLA. I think that now is the right time to do it. And Madam Chair, if it's okay with you, we'd like to recognize Phil Ostrander, Executive Director for the Oklahoma State Firefighters Association, to provide some more details.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Committee. I'm Phil Ostrander. I'm the Executive Director of the Oklahoma State Firefighters Association, and I am just finishing up my 5th year as a board member of the Oklahoma Retired Firefighters Association. I want to thank you all for allowing this bill to be heard today. I know that's well, first let me tell you one other thing about our association. I'm sorry. Oklahoma State Firefighters Association is about 16,500 members that pay dues, and that in that group we represent not just the career firefighters but also paid firefighter or volunteer firefighters as well. This bill today affects all of the retired volunteer firefighters that are in the state of Oklahoma as well, and there are about 6,200 retired volunteer firefighters that this would affect, and there are about 4,500 roughly retired paid firefighters that this would affect. So want to also say thank you to Representative Randy McDaniel. We've been working with him for, I don't know, about 7 years now for our pension system in particular. When we first started talking, we had some problems, and we worked with him very well. Over the last 7 years, we've taken 3 benefit reductions in order to help stabilize our system and actually put it on a pleasant trajectory. The last of the benefits in particular affected current retirees, which is kind of a first-time thing, but it was an unsustainable benefit. We took it to Representative McDaniel, and we worked with him to straighten that out, and over the course of the next few years, we're going to reap the dividends from correcting that benefit. We've done that, and what has happened over the last 10 years or 11 years or so is that we have made changes to virtually all the pension systems to put them in a place, responsible changes, to put them in a place where we could do what we're talking about today. and our retirees have waited long enough. It's been over 10 years. As you know, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about the cost of living, but you all know that the cost of living has increased dramatically over the last decade, yet most of the retirees for our systems are still at where they were at 10 years ago. And one example, Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is not a small, low-paid department, but they have retirees who have their insurance money held out of their pension check. And in the last few months, that's changed so that they can no longer do that, because those retired Oklahoma City firefighters are having to add $300 a month to their pension check in order to pay their insurance benefit. And that's kind of what we're seeing. And then you can imagine what it's like as you're dealing with the smaller fire departments and the other entities around the state. And just to give you a little bit more information, when we're talking about retirees, there's about 62,000 retired educators, 35,000 public employee retirees, 11,000 firefighters, and like I said earlier, about 6,200 of those are volunteer firefighters. And plus the other systems as well. Those are just numbers I have. So this is not a small group that this would affect and that it would mean the world to. We've talked about a stipend as an option. Representative McDaniel's got a stipend bill out there that he's talking about. But when you look at that, the stipend benefit as that is written today is minimal for a lot of people. The stipend bill for retired educators, there are 17,500 retired teachers whose annual benefit today is $12,000 a year or less. So the people at the top end of that 17,500 under the stipend bill would get a $240 one-time check, would be what they would get. And then everybody that was below that naturally would get less, because it's 2% of their annual benefit. We talk about the caps, has those beautiful high caps on there, but that's a very small part of the group that would get that money. We're also probably going to hear that giving COLAs is going to bankrupt the systems. They're not going to bankrupt the systems. Responsible changes have been made in our pension systems to protect from that. There will be a cost. There actually will be a cost for every benefit that we get. For instance, in our system, if you're going to give a COLA, there's going to be a cost. For our survivor benefit, so that our widows can continue on with our pension, there's a cost to that. They can actually put a dollar amount on it, how much that costs our system. Our line of duty disabilities, there's a cost to that, where the actuaries have estimated the cost. So there is going to be a cost to a COLA, like there is going to be a cost to a stipend. There will be a cost.
Representative McDaniel recognized for one question, one follow-up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, since I have Phil there, thank you for the kind comments. Those were very generous, but I want to get onto this. My understanding is that the members in the drop plan who aren't actually even retired would also therefore be eligible for the next 4 to almost 5 years to be able to go ahead and get the COLA benefit if they were in that plan right now. Does that be intended?
No, that's not intended. And if we get to a point where we have to, that's one of the things that I've visited with you about, is we would like to target some of these kind of things. And it's understood that that's why we've always used 5 years or more before when we've done these COLAs. You had to be retired 5 years or more. So those are the kind of things that we understand are issues.
Thank you for the
Recognized
follow-up.
for one follow-up.
More often it's been 1 year, but I appreciate you supporting the idea that there could be a 5-year delay to fix that.
For those people.
Well, the question is then, since you are with fire, we've talked about the strengthening of the systems, and could you please explain why all the systems have a better funded ratio and improve their financial condition, but the plan that you're in actually had a worse off position even after a very robust returns in the market?
I could. And I think I think our system director told you what that deal was about. When our system was created in 1981, the computer system that they had since that time had been calculating benefits incorrectly. And when they just upgraded to a new computer system, there was a correction. We actually earned 3% more, but due to that correction from day one, it reduced our funding ratio by 3%. Is that correct? That's what you were told as well?
You recognized to answer his question.
Yeah, I First of all, I appreciate them being so open and transparent. We met on it, and I do think it was an assumption that had been underestimated based on the computer model that they had. But my point was, not all systems are just going straight up, and we still, your system that you have been involved with is in the mid-60s. That's not a fully funded pension system.
Yeah, that's 56% higher than we were in 1981.
Representative Sears, you're recognized for one question, one follow-up.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Representative, this is for you. And if you, Representative Frix, if you don't have this information, if you would compile it and get it to the members, I would appreciate that. And that is this. Of all the funds that we're affecting, can you tell us where they are in their unfunded liability right now? I know the majority of them, but I won't hold you to that. But I'd like to know that if you have it. And number two, with that same number, is what is this 4% to all? You said it was a 2% of the fund. I mean, there's got to be a number there in public education and firefighters, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to know, can you give us those numbers today, what the cost is?
The cost per system, if you add up all the systems together, it's $84.7 million. And again, like you mentioned, I was told that would change the funding ratio of each system by about 2%. I don't have the funding level of each system with me. I don't know if Mr. Hodges would. We can definitely get that to you.
Can I get a follow-up? I think,
And I may add, too, that title is off the bill, and we're going to like to be able to continue to work on this.
again, I think this is very important, and not only to this committee, but if this bill makes it through and it comes to the House floor, I think there should be a document on all of our desks in regards to the funding liability of that, where they are in their funding, and what that number correlates to that particular fund, teacher retirement. Can you get that for us? I don't want to bog down the committee today. It's going to affect my vote today. I just think that would be wise that we have those numbers.
Absolutely.
Representative McEachin, you're recognized for a question or follow-up.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, Representative, as I understand it, your bill is going to permanently exempt cost of living adjustments from the idea of non-fiscal. In other words, it's going to make every single one non-fiscal on a go-forward basis. As you work on this, would you commit to perhaps tightening that language a bit?
Be glad to look at it. It was my understanding this would be a one-time exception type of thing, but we'll be glad to work with legal and with you to address those concerns as we move forward.
Representative Proctor, you're recognized for one question and one follow-up.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Representative, first of all, thank you for bringing this bill and have the courage to bring this bill. It's been 10 years since a lot of these folks have had a cost of living adjustment, and I think it speaks pretty strongly to your character that you're willing to carry it. So thank you for doing that. My question is either to you or to Mr. Ostrander or anyone else who's here that would know. I know that I've been in a lot of the firehouses in Tulsa, and have visited with a lot of the police officers, including one that's in my Sunday school class, and several constituents. Is it not true that for firefighters and police officers, their life expectancy once they retire is so much less than a lot of these other folks? And God bless our teachers and God bless our state employees, but I don't know if you can address the reasons for that, or if Mr. Ostrander can or other folks can, but I think it speaks to the urgency for the need for us to show that we appreciate these folks that put their lives on the line for us, that have a lower life expectancy, and kind of why there is an urgency here to do something for them.
Absolutely. I would definitely agree with that, but if it's okay with the chair, we'd like to have Mr. Ostrander elaborate more.
You're recognized to answer the question.
Thank you. Phil Ostrander with the Oklahoma State Firefighters Association. On that issue, Representative Proctor, I thank you for that. And it is a nationally known fact that that for firefighters, it's cancer, any kind of lung disease, and the physical stress that are on firefighters, just the physical stress. We talk to people in my office. We get the funeral notices. I have a very good friend, a retired firefighter from Moore, who had been fighting this fight for several years, and I mentioned him in one of my articles, Bill McCauley. My good friend didn't get to be here when we started talking about this today because he passed away a little prematurely and it's just it's a hazard of the job. It's like me, firefighters, even injuries and disabilities, Representative, because you don't think about it, but we're different. Like, we're different than the police, because multiple times a day we're jumping off the truck with gear on, getting back on, jumping off. That's why firefighters have knee problems. But life expectancy is about 8 years shorter to 10 years shorter than your average person. Bill, well, I won't go on, but that's the issue. It's the stress, it's the cancer, the heart attacks are rampant. It's just hazards of the job. And I appreciate you asking the question.